Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to another stream. I hope you guys are doing well today. I'm doing just fine. I'm a little tired. Um, I did sleep last night, which is good. Not the same that I could be said yesterday. Yesterday, I got a hot 2 hours of sleep. Um, and honestly, I've had naps better than the sleep I had yesterday. Or the day before yesterday. And today I got a good sleep in, which I am happy about because oh boy, it was starting to look like I wasn't going to be getting any real sleep. Today is going to be probably a bit of a shorter stream, mostly because I'm tired, man. I'm tired and I couldn't decide what I wanted to do. I considered playing like a cozy game in the background, but I didn't know what to play. And then I was like, well, I'm gonna be stopping all the time and just like talking about how yesterday went. And so at like the end of the day, who needs a game to have in the background, you know? But today we're gonna be talking about yesterday's game, our solo TTRPG, our first experience. Our first game, I decided to go with Case Closed, the Cold Case RPG by Wim Lawson. It's an indie game. Um, this individual, I think, has maybe, I think, one other game that they did. Oh, I didn't turn off the rules. It's fine. They'll pop up on the screen, but we both of us will just know. We'll just have to understand what's happening. Why are you so large? You shouldn't be so large. I made the whole thing smaller. Why is this the only one that got smaller? There we go. Well, that means this is going to be a little bit of a pain to fix in the future, but it is what it is. Um, yes, so we had Case Closed, the Cold Case RPG, which we did yesterday. It is an indie game by Wim Lawson, and pretty much our goal is to identify a killer, find out the killer, why they did it, and how they did it. Right? That's the entire shtick of the game, and I feel like we got that done. I feel like step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we got done. We have so my goal yesterday with our game is I wanted to tell a story, and I wanted a vehicle to lead me through a story. So in this case, I wanted a game that would really hold my hand through the experience because I was very intimidated by the fact that I would be doing this by myself. For the most part, I've only ever played TTRPGs with other people. Well, I've only ever played TTRPGs with other people, aside from like character creation, and especially like when I was first in learning about D&D and stuff, and I would like make my own characters with like extravagant backstories for my level 1 characters. um but aside from that, I've never really done anything by myself in this scope. So I was intimidated by the entire thing. And honestly, like I talked about it before, I really never had an interest in solo TTRPGs. For the most part, I was booked and busy um playing with other people. um so I really didn't see why I would take the time out of my day to just like do that but by myself, right? um and so after that, I just really never thought about it again. And so entering this year, I I was watching my friend Trooper SJP over on Twitch, he was doing a solo TTRPG. He was playing a 2d6 dungeon crawl system, and watching him play through it and like create the story as he went, and it felt very much like choose your own adventure, kind of like that. Also a little bit like roguelike. It also felt um like he had a lot of room to tell a story, of which I was very much into that idea. I very much wanted to sit there and I wanted to learn more about it. Um so I watched him. I watched I think like 2 of his sessions and I was like, is this something I'm interested in? And so I started looking into it a little bit more and like it kind of excited me, the idea of doing a solo TTRPG, especially doing one on stream, because for the most part, I don't do anything TTRPG related on my own channel. The closest I really ever got to it was just like doing map making, but that's not necessarily a TTRPG thing. That's simply a game. That's simply a thing. That simply is a thing. So I decided to look around, like actually look around on itch, like itch.io, and I didn't really look through drive through RPG, just because, no offense to drive through RPG, but I think the interface is awful and it's really hard to search through there. And I'm not saying that itch is any better. I'm just saying that I find it a little bit more aesthetically pleasing to look at. So I went through itch, and because I wasn't really looking to play a big game, because big games have big books and a lot of rules and a lot of just like setting already taking place, and I wasn't ready for that kind of commitment. So I was looking more for an indie game, one shotable, in and out sort of. Like I said, kind of just like that choose your own adventure book, right? Like all of it is pretty much written for me. I just need to fill in the blanks. I was looking for something like that, for my first experience, because I did not know if I was going to enjoy it. I did not know if it was going to be a little bit too daunting for me, and also I didn't know really where it was going to go at the end of the day. So um I found Case Closed pretty early on in the search. It wasn't one of the first things that popped up, but it was up there as one of the things I found, and I was very much interested. I was very much al- into this idea of solving a mystery, because solving a mystery means that, and by reading this, I mean just looking here at the table of contents, um it's all laid out. It's like you have the basic what I need to do for this game. Then we have, the detective, the victim, the case, and the suspect's plot twist. You know, and that's it. That's the entire game. It's like 20 something pages is this PDF. And honestly, the last few pages are non not really of any significance to what I was aiming to do, because there's also a portion here where we get like the supernatural variant where you can have your monster hunters or supernatural FBI's, exorcists. The evidence is a little bit different. You can get things like voodoo dolls, cursed objects, etc. And then from there, it's just like examples of each of these. And this is where I got the idea that I wanted to do like case files. I wanted to, because one of our original ideas for the Roll20 is that we were going to have one for the conspiracy board, one with each of the files that would look like this. And I would like fill this out during stream and then, move forward. Obviously, I didn't end up doing that. And it was a little bit, I ran out of time and a little bit, it felt redundant, so I really wanted to make sure the stream didn't feel bloated in the time it took me to go from, point A to point B. I didn't want there to be a lot of downtime in which I was fumbling around with stuff in the background, really slowing down the game part of the game, right? And so it's why I originally wanted to do these case files, but at the end of the day, I didn't. And I think if you're playing this at home by yourself, I think this is obviously the way to go about it, but it is not the way I went about it. So yeah. And also I didn't really even look at these that much. Like I'd never even read these like blurbs at the bottom. But these are basically what we came up with. And maybe if I were to do this again, I would do some sort of recap like this. I think that it would be fun to have this. I almost feel like it would be more fun to have it as like an interactive thing for viewers to be able to see. I don't know if there's any extensions you could do on stream, but it would be cool to like have these there for people to be able to pull up on their own time. But aside from that, it probably would just go into like a Google Sheets or something, and I would not a Google Sheets, a Google Slides show or something, and people could look at them as I was actively updating them. So they would be on stream, and then also a link that people could go and look at them themselves. But things weren't that serious, so I didn't really think too hard about how to get that aspect into the stream. I think if this were a little bit more complex, or if this were a longer term, like not a one shot, if it were like a 3-shot, then yeah, I would do something along those lines, something a little bit more interactive that people could like hold with their own hands and like play along essentially. Um but yeah, so a case closed really appealed to me in the way that it's a mystery. I have a very obvious end, right? There's a very obvious beginning, middle, and end to a murder mystery, a whodunit. And that is you create everybody, the detective, the victim, the suspects, the case. And then you figure, then you play the game, and then at the end of the game you figure out who did it, who killed the victim. And I am delighted. I was pleasantly surprised with how much I enjoyed this game, and enjoyed the experience. I was excited enough throughout the preparation process, that I didn't really doubt that I would enjoy it, but I was, still nervous about it. So going into the prep phase of this, I decided, you know, I'm going to stream this. If I'm going to stream this, I want it to be visually appealing. I don't want myself to be fumbling around everything. And I don't want to be I don't want to be unsure about what I'm rolling. Like, I don't want to be unsure about the rules. And it happened once or twice and during the actual stream, and I didn't really have an issue with that, mostly because it's gonna happen. I didn't sit here and memorize the rules, right? So what I ended up doing is I ended up making an outline of this. And honestly, it's what took the longest, is creating all the like logistical little parts of this. It is simply why I had other things going on at the same time, such as the Mass Effect games that I'm doing over on Praxis channel that was being discussed, and so I was making sure I learned all the stuff for that game and stuff like that. But over on Google Docs, I started um a document in which I just outlined all the rules in just simple to absorb little snippets. So like there was 2 trackers. An investigation tracker that starts at 7 and goes 5 through 11. Then a time tracker that starts at 0 and goes 0 to 5. We set this to 1 to 5 because I didn't realize, it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6 little ticks I would have needed on my overlay next to me. Where is it? Right there. That would need 6 little ticks. And as you can tell, we have 5. So we started at 1 with time. And that's okay because that just made the game move a little bit faster, which I'm not mad about. In fact, I think it would have been bogged down a little bit by being a 0 to 5. But I understand why it was 0 to 5, the game itself. I have my rules here. And as I wrote them down, I didn't really understand what the significance of like investigation and like deduction and all of that was going to be. So I just wrote it down the same way it was written in the book, and I just rolled from there. So success, if your roll is equal or above the current investigation score, your roll is a success. Move your investigation tracker up by 1. So here's the thing about this. Here's the thing you need to know about this. This isn't in the rules. If your roll is equal or above the current investigation score, in the rules it just says above. If you roll above your investigation score, your roll is a success. There is nowhere does it talk about what you do when you get something that is equal to what you rolled. And I went on a little bit of a deep dive on their itch. I think they had a Tumblr. I went like all over the place to see if they ever answered this question. Someone even asked the question in the reviews or like in the like talking section on the itch page, and they never got a reply. So I just had to make a call myself, and just by the sheer fact that I know how I roll, that I don't usually roll well, I was like, okay, I'm going to say that if I roll equal to the investigation score and above, then I get a success. That way the game moves a little bit faster, and I have more of an opportunity of success because I know how I roll. I know what my luck's like. Failure, if your roll is below the current investigation tracker, your roll is a failure. Move investigation tracker down by 1 and increase time tracker by 1. And this is, again, an outline. So I just took like the paragraph written about this and I just minimized it into points that I could just easily grasp. So I could look over at my rules that I had over. I actually had it down here where I had the PowerPoint, and I was just switching between the two the two as I was playing. So I could just grasp it. I could just look at it, glance at it, and be like, yes, I know what to do here. So then we have matches. So if I roll matching die, 4, 4, 4, 3, 3, etc., perform the detective special move. And so I did that. I did the same thing with like deduction. If I rolled a success, then I was correct, and I have to explain the process and cross off the evidence. If it's a failure, my assumption is incorrect. I explain why it's wrong, and don't cross off the evidence. And then, the occasion of the 12, the 2, and the matches once more. Then the same thing with like suspects, what I need to roll and stuff like that. And that takes us over to the PowerPoint, which I didn't even think about. So at this point, once I was done with this and I had read all the rules about the evidence, I was like, okay, I know that in this document, there's a lot of tables all over the place, things I have to roll. However, I don't want to be scrolling back and forth on this PDF. And more importantly, I would like, again, this is a visual game. I am streaming this. I want to make sure I am able to have you guys see these tables, because it's going to be a big part of the game. Is the setup, is us, figuring out what happened to the victim, figuring out who our suspects were, the evidence, and all of that. So I wanted to make sure I had some sort of way to have this on screen for you guys. And that's where we decided I was gonna cut out. Originally, I was just gonna have a cutout of only the table, but through doing prep for the stream, you guys let me know that actually having the whole picture works best for you guys. I was doing it so I would have something fun to do, because I don't like doing this. I don't like making tables. I find it very boring. And it really was a real struggle with my ADHD to get this done, which is why, again, this took a while. But I also didn't want to rush it because I didn't want to sit here and be and have negative memories about making these things, right? Like I didn't want to force myself and then, be spiteful of the experience. So I made sure to go at a nice slow pace and figure everything out because also I knew I wanted to do this so I could pull it up on stream and you guys could see it, but I only wanted the tables, and I didn't know how I would do that. I didn't know what program I was gonna do. I was considering finding a website that I could go to because I wanted to just be able to click I need to go to evidence. Let me click this button, and bam, we have evidence. And realistically, what I should have done that I forgot I could have done is create a page like this, completely open, and just have a bunch of hyperlinks to everything. Instead, I just clicked around because as we were creating, luckily, because I spent such a long time doing this, I kind of knew where everything was. But if I were to do this again, I would put hyperlinks here just to make it a little bit easier for me. Because I can barely see what this says. And even though I can hover above the things, it's not really the same. It still takes a little too long for me to be completely satisfied with that. So I ended up with PowerPoint because I was looking something up and PowerPoint was brought up and I was like, well, PowerPoint would be good because I know I have PowerPoint. So I could just go on and I could do it there and it's a table. I can move it anywhere I want. I could, it's not what all I needed to do was put it on. I needed to move it from the PDF onto something I could copy and paste it from. And having it on PowerPoint on Microsoft, that meant that I could just, pull it and put it somewhere else if I really wanted to. So I was very satisfied with my decision to put this on the PowerPoint, and it seemed like you guys were into it also. So in the future, I'll probably continue to do something like this for other tables that we might have to roll. And I also like this thing where I would do that and it would pop up and stuff. I thought that was really fun. And I'll talk about that later on when I talk about how, the actual streaming portion of it went. So that was the big prep I needed to do, right? I needed to have the outline of the rules for myself because I wasn't gonna memorize all the rules, even though for the most part I already have. But in the moment, I didn't want to get stressed out and suddenly forget things, and that would then just continue to stress me out even more. So, um, with all of that said, um, oh, the other thing is that the reason I couldn't just copy and paste these in is because I changed a lot of things in the way that there were certain things I didn't want to talk about. I didn't want to deal with the issues. I don't like talking about young people dying. I don't like talking about old people dying. So immediately took that out. Anyone who I don't remember where it is, but anything that had to do with kid younger people, I just took it out. I also didn't want to deal with any serial killer sort of stuff. If it ended up seeming like the character would have a storyline of a serial killer, then that's that. But I didn't really care for it. Yeah, so Offspring, I didn't want to deal with any children. Although, Offspring doesn't It doesn't have to mean someone young, but it was just something I didn't want to deal with. Same thing with like an authority figure. I just didn't want to think about that. What else? There were some other things that I took out of here that I again just was something I did not have any interest in speaking of. Um, yeah, so like I took out senior, I took out adolescent, senior adolescent. Um, I took out, oh, over here, a lot of cause of death I took out. There's some, you know, I didn't want to deal with like satanic symbol. I didn't want to deal with like starvation and prolonged torture. Those were just things I didn't want to talk about. I didn't really want to um I didn't want to imagine anything like that. This is so cool. Oh, hello, Dora. So, thank you so much. This is so cool. Yeah, we're doing a recap. Yesterday we played this game. So now I'm just recapping how it went and figuring out you know, what I liked, what I didn't like, and what I would like to do in the future. So, all of that so I took out a lot of things from some tables related to things I just didn't want to talk about. I didn't want to imagine, I didn't want those in like the mindscape as I was playing the game. So, I continued on and got got that done. Once I was done with that, now I had to think about how I wanted this to visually appear on the screen for you guys. Like I said, with the tables, I knew I wanted those to pop up somehow, some way on the stream. But what else? Obviously, I was going to be on the screen. The trackers had to be on the screen. Hey, Kalino, how you doing? I hope you're doing well today. I wanted the trackers to be on the screen. That's the filigree again next to me. Those are all the trackers. And that was about it. And like, I wanted the suspects and stuff to be on the screen also for you guys, but not in like that file format that I talked about earlier. So I was like, well, what do I do then? And I'm like, well, it'd be cool. I toyed around the idea with NPC cards in the past. I wanted to do an NPC deck where um it was pretty much it was an NPC deck, but like a very inclusive NPC deck with a lot of different people under the LGBT umbrella, a lot of, different skin tones, cultures, sizes. Like I wanted to be a very inclusive NPC deck, and I'd like toyed around with it, but um it was gonna be a little too expensive to start up because I wasn't gonna do the art on it. Um because I had tried to do I was like, "Okay, well, can I do the art on this?" And so I tried it and it wasn't the best. So but I did try a little bit. And so that's always still been on my mind that I had done that. So I was like, "Well, I did just get this drawing tablet, thanks to chat. This would be the perfect time to do this because I was working on something else for a friend and that involved drawing a person. So I was just like, well, let me mess around with this. And that's when I got the idea to, I was like, okay, I'll have an NPC deck so I can like pull out people and I'll throw them on screen somehow and that'll be our suspects and our victim and stuff. And then I was like, okay, well, from there, what do I do? And then I was just like, well, because I was thinking about framing it, right? I didn't want to have just a raw file, the raw picture on there. I wanted to outline it somehow because when you put stuff on stream specifically, if you don't put like an outline on things, it doesn't look good. I don't know how to describe it to you, but I for whatever reason just having a small little outline on it, like right here, I have an outline around the middle section, right? We have that white line going all around it. Oh, why are Dylan and Kiana over there? Hold on. They've been there probably since they were streaming. There we go. Let me just turn that off. Sorry, Dylan and Kiana. Right now they're doing Overwatch over on Dylan's on the Narcissus channels. About those bubbles up there. Yeah, so you can see I have like the little outline here, and then I have a little outline going around the whole of the overlay. It just makes things look a little bit cleaner and more distinction, especially with the bitrate not being the best when you're an affiliate. 6,000 kilobytes is a lot, but like for example, YouTube videos for the most part, you're getting those anywhere between 10 and 20,000 kilobytes. So yeah. So it makes things a little bit more distinct. So I was thinking about like, okay, so how am I gonna outline my NPC cards? And I was like, okay, I could just, do like a basic little black outline around them. And then I was like, wait. And then I was like, well, I can make them look like a card. And so I was imagining what they would look like a card. And I'm like, well, they don't need to be super long because it's not like they're going to have a huge, they don't have moves and names and stuff. And that's when I realized, why don't I make it a Polaroid? A Polaroid would be dope. So I put it in I made like a quick little template. I think I did it on stream. It's a quick little template of a Polaroid, and I put like the picture in there, and I was like, yes, this is exactly what it's going to be. And then from there, things just started snowballing. And I was like, okay, well, I'd have the Polaroid, and because again, it's a cold case. This is not a recent murder, so everything would older pictures were Polaroids, evidence of Polaroids as people walked around with the Polaroid cameras. So I was like, yes. And then I could put it on the board and it would be like the conspiracy board, like that one scene from It's Always Sunny, right? And then I was just like, yes. Then I could have like the strings attaching to everything, and then I could have strings attached to the evidence of Polaroids of evidence. And I was like, okay, I could do that too. I'm already drawing NPCs. I could do the evidence cards also. And today I realized that I forgot something that I worked on. Probably because I did it on stream, but I forgot that I also did. I even lamented about it on stream that I forgot to do anything for the victim. But I did though. I have all the cause of deaths right here. The only issue is that I forgot to make PNGs of them. So I have all of this. It never popped in. Never did it. But that's okay. We got some of the more boring ones. We got the home and we got stabbing. So we didn't see those. But if I would have thought about it, we could have also had the victim on the Roll20. Now, my only issue that I had, okay, so moving forward before I really talk about it, don't look, that's spoilers. That's not my announcement to make, just don't look at it. So I was like, okay, I want the conspiracy board. And now I have a better idea of how I'm going to do this on stream. Again, visually for you guys, because I wanted this, because streaming is a visual, experience. It's not something I'm sitting here and doing by myself, right? Oh, I forgot I don't need that to fit anything. How am I going to translate that onto the screen? I saw nothing. Kalina. Thank you. I appreciate it. I was like, okay, so how do I do this? And then the same idea where I had the conundrum with how I was going to show you guys the tables. I was like, well, now how am I going to show you the conspiracy board? Where am I going to do conspiracy board? I'm like, I guess I could do it on like OneNote. I could do it like in Clip Studio maybe. I was thinking about a lot of things. I was trying to think of somehow, some way getting like that whiteboard effect where I could pick up things and put them on the board. I could write on the board. and stuff like that, because I knew I wanted to cross things out, right? Like after we were done, cross out, right? It's not you. It wasn't Bess Hill. It wasn't Jim Peters, you know? It was Hugh Riley, bitch. Uh, and so all of that is what I was thinking of. And I was already going to use Roll20 probably for rolling dice. So it was more a fact of how am I going to get this done? So I'm just like, well, I can get the evidence on here. Once I draw it, I can put it in the Polaroid template and throw it onto the screen. That's easy. The suspects, however, and NPCs in general, I would have to make 5 or 6 different iterations of every single NPC I was going to make. And I had aspirations of making 30 of them. So 30 NPCs with about 4 to 5 variations of the template, because I would have suspect. I knew I was going to do 4 suspects. So it'd be suspect 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then, like, we had a psychiatrist, there was a bartender, there's a handwriting specialist, there's roommate, coworker, loved one. Like, there were several iterations of the label I would put under each character on the Polaroid. So I was like, I have to do that on the fly. So what will serve me the most? What's the easiest to just do something real quick on Clip Studio, make the PNG, upload it somewhere, and then throw it on the page. And at the end of the day, Roll20 just ended up being the better option, you know? So I spent, you guys saw, a week and a half, I think, making all the NPCs and all the evidence. Let me tell you, my arm is still feeling it from just spending so much time drawing and stuff. But it ended up going well. I'm fairly happy with everything that I did. I don't regret doing all the evidence. I'm a little sad I did forget to do the victim stuff, but that's fine because in general, I didn't have the room. I did not have the room on this Roll20 to do it. I was already feeling how small some of the text was. Again, this is a resolution issue. Or not a bit rate issue, where any writing, any like text you have on screen, you want to make it always much larger than you personally need, because it's not going to translate well on stream. Especially when it's something that you really want people to see. And I knew I was going to have an overlay like the one I have now. I knew I was going to have it shrunk a little bit. And also, I had to keep in mind that a lot of people who watch streams do so on their phones, which is another reason why you want nice, large, bold text. Because if they're going to look at it, they need to be able to have even the remote possibility of seeing it. Even if it's small, you can still read text. It's just, you have to like bring the phone a little bit closer or like zoom in a little bit to see it. But for the most part, I feel like 4 was enough suspects. I really was happy with the fact that I chose 4. I was really thinking like maybe I should have gone with 3, maybe 4 is too much. Again, I did not have time to do a trial run of this game. So I didn't really know how I was going to play, especially with my setup. So I was really nervous about the fact that I chose 4 instead of 3, but honestly, I thought it worked out well. One of my criticisms of the game, and it's honestly more of a criticism on my own creativity, I guess, is the fact that nearing the end, I didn't, because the way the game goes is if you cannot disprove a piece of evidence to not be attached to the actual murder of the victim, you don't do anything with that evidence. You simply do not remove it from the field. And so I was like, and I tried not to just sit there and harp on the same thing until like I succeeded on the roll. I thought that would be a little cheesy, a little boring, so I wanted more to like the tire tracks, for example. I came up with like a theory on the tire tracks, like, yeah, of course they were going to be tire tracks. You hated your sister, and therefore, you were going to leave. The fact that you were even at her home, pissed you off, so you were gonna screech out of there. And then that didn't track, and it was like, ooh, I can't think of any other reason there would be tire tracks out there. Um, Obviously you were there. And I don't have really any ideas, and that's why I would switch over to a different piece of evidence or a different person. But eventually I had to come back to Hugh Riley and talk about that, and I couldn't think of anything. I couldn't think of what to do. How to prove him innocent, because again, this is a game in which you prove them innocent before guilty. The question is, why are you innocent, not why are you guilty? So, yeah, as I was dwindling down, like when we had all four and all of them were open, that was easy. But when it started dwindling down to like only having like Hugh Riley and Jim Peters and like maybe one thing on Bess Hill, I didn't know what to do. I tried to leave like one thing open on everybody at least. Like with Jared Hoffman, I didn't finish him. I simply moved on because I didn't want to finish it right away. And so I was like, damn, what do I do here? Like what's the vibe? But we figured it out. Eventually, it worked out in the fact that, plot twist, Jim Peters died. So it gave us an excuse to go back over the Jim Peters, and we found out a way to make the story work. But yeah, so there was a second there while we were playing that I didn't know what the fuck I was gonna do with the story. I had no idea. I was stuck. I didn't know what to do. I didn't really know what to say. And the game really didn't have anything for me to help me in that situation. Um and I don't think that's a fault in the game. I think it's just a fault in, maybe it's a little bit of the game's fault and a lot part my fault, for the lack of imagination. Sorry. Like I said, I'm sleepy. But yeah, so I like this. I don't love how busy it is, and the thing is that because I know that this game has plot twists where a piece of evidence can come back, I did not want to delete any of the evidence that any of these victims had, or any of these suspects had, nor did I want to delete any of these suspects. Um because I knew that the plot twist, included, this piece of evidence is actually still true, or, they got an added piece of evidence against them. So I didn't really know what to do. I felt a little bit stuck in that way also, just from the restrictions of how I set this up on Roll20. It felt a little bit busy to me, especially as I started crossing things out, but no one really said anything, but I felt it. As I was looking at this, it was busy and hard to follow. Um, Also the fact I still think maybe I should have done a secondary a window where I did everything empirically instead. I did everything on a file that I would like fill out myself, just like the PDF had, right? That I would, let me scroll, 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 let me scroll. Then it would look something a little bit like this. I'm not in love with the way that this looks, but it was a good template, I would say, to start following by. So, as I was playing the game, like I said, I really liked how this game held my hand through all of this. Because I was intimidated by this entire process. And I like kind of placated my anxieties and my fears by working on the stream side of stuff. You know, working on the visuals, working on the NPC cards and stuff. Um, and I wanted to just show you guys how I had things organized. This isn't not so much an organized folder anymore. But I have something called my RPG assets now, and I need to throw these all into the case closed folder as I go and I do other RPGs in the future. But um I had my Polaroid templates over here. I had my game and rules things that are probably still popping out over on the side. I had my every iteration of this overlay um that I tried out because again, they look different when I first tried these. Like this is what this looked like, except take out the wood on the back and make that all black. That was the original idea for this overlay. And then from there, I started working on more and more things, including the trackers, by the way. That's what the trackers, I had a different idea for what the trackers were going to look like, but at the end of the day, that's not how they ended up looking. Um, Also, I had a ton of versions of the overlay with the filigree and the with the shape with the clock and the magnifying glass. Because I was showing it to a friend and they were just like, "Have you considered this? Have you considered that?" And I was like, "Ugh, you're right. I don't want you to be right." I was also toying with the fact of giving it a black background, so it would be a little bit easier to see on stream. But at the end of the day, just having really bright tokens, the green and the blue token, it worked out very fine for us. Um, Also for our announcement picture, I literally just stole it from above us. Literally from this overlay, I screenshotted that and I put it over here essentially. Although I screenshotted it like this, this is the overlay live essentially. What we see right now, this is pretty much what the overlay is, except I just turned off the wood paneling so I could just take that and throw it um into its own thing. And I did the same thing. I just took the filigree trackers and I went from there. um and yeah, I made the last minute decision to move the trackers down here because if you remember, originally I had them up top on the overlay. That's where they were going to all go, because I thought that that would be easier to look at. But there was just not with the way that I wanted this to look. There was more room on the chin at the bottom of the overlay as opposed to the top. And my original idea was to have them sort of, how do you say, like encroaching on where Roll20 would be, encroaching on the screen essentially. Like they would fill about that much space. So they would be encroaching on what I wanted you guys to see. And at the end of the day, that's just not a good idea. I want you to see that part of the screen, so why would I cover it up? It is what it is. But anyways, I had my different folders here. I had my cause of death, which I didn't end up using. My cause of death and location. I forgot about it. Again, I was kind of in a rush, so I never did it. This is the original. I was coming up with ways to make this look kind of more film noir. I obviously didn't end up going that way. The only thing that thematically stayed film noir was the PowerPoint. And honestly, I felt like that was enough. Just having that there. I liked having more of like a game aesthetic to it as opposed to like going full into the game. I feel that's more my style, where I'm like very faithful to the story and very much into the story and being storytelling, but not so much in the fact of making the character um the entire stream, if that makes sense. We have all our evidence. As you see here, I have all of these right here with the little like logo on them. These are all the Clip Studio um files of them. Then I could go back in and edit and stuff like that. Then I have all the PNGs that I then went through and put the Polaroid on it and then wrote what each one of them was. Some of them have red text on them for no reason in particular, except I thought they were particularly spicy. So I made the text red, and we got like almost all of them. I think we got almost every single one of the red ones, except the financial issues and suspects DNA. Those were the only two we didn't get, which is wild because out of these, how many of these are there? Out of the 29 items, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, only 7 of them were red text. But that's fine. I'm totally fine with that. And honestly, we kind of added financial issues to Jim Peters, RIP, never forget. And then we have our NPC guys, which I did, again, all the Clip Studio art of it. And then we have the PNG versions of it. And then I made a separate folder so I can add everything and everyone. Arnold, you saw him. Hey, Rue. Hope you're doing well. We do, in fact, have Arnold in here. There's 2 people. We have Arnold. This is also somebody suggested by chat. And definitely looks more like many other people except the person he's supposed to be. So, but I did draw Arnold. I asked chat when I first came up with the idea of making NPC cards, what are some suggestions you guys have? Someone said, "Hey Arnold" from Hey Arnold, and somebody said somebody else, a celebrity that I won't say. Just because I think it's funnier if you guys have to imagine who that is. Because I'm going to continue using these cards, by the way. I spent way too much time on these things to not then continue using these individuals. But yeah, so then I created another folder in which I put the PNG specifically of these characters with a template specifically for suspects. So specifically so I could come in here, you know, turn on whenever, because I rolled a D21 if you guys remember, and depending on the number would depend who I would unlock here. So like 21 was Jim Peters. I turned him on. I changed the text down below. I had 2 texts here. I had the one for the specialties, and then I had the one that said suspect on it, just so things would go a little bit faster because I had to do them on the fly. So I wanted to make sure I had the template set up right away because otherwise it would be a little bit of a nightmare to deal with. Yeah, these cards are awesome. Thank you, Rue. And so that was one of the like preparation things that I wanted to knife. Yeah, the knife. The knife that ended up not being on stream because I forgot they existed. I forgot they were there. Which is honestly a shame on me, but at the end of the day, it wasn't that big of a deal. I forgot to make these all PNGs and throw them in a Polaroid template is what I forgot to do. But they're there in the future if we ever want to do this again. That's an amazing emote. I love them. Just, I can't move my eyebrows that fast. It's too fast. But yeah, so that's how I ended up organizing everything here. Is I had everything here and I just literally copy and pasted everything into Roll20 to make that easier. And then as we were playing, I was uploading these to Roll20 so I could throw them on our evidence board. I've been told evidence boards are different from conspiracy boards, so I should call it an evidence board, not a conspiracy board. Um, Although I reserve the right to call it either one because I didn't know how I didn't know who I was going to roll, because you're not necessarily a detective starting this out. You're a detective in the way that you're trying to figure out who murdered the person, but your occupation didn't necessarily have to be a private investigator. We just rolled private investigator. Um, And I even forgot about the relation to the case. I forgot what we rolled here because I didn't have a place to write this down. I had to write it down on a piece of paper because I didn't think about the fact that maybe I should write this down so I could remember. I think we were the suspect's friend or something, which would make sense because I was really rooting for certain people, especially for the fact that two of them ended up being family members to our victim. I was concerned. But yeah, so I reserved the right to call it a conspiracy board because I could have also been like a retired person. I could have been a stay-at-home parent. Uh, so like I think I took off police officer. But yeah, so I wanted to keep that in mind when I was doing this. Also, I didn't realize that there was going to be extra information about these guys that I needed to write down, such as their relation to the victim, what they'd been up to since the murder, how they felt towards the victim, and how they felt towards the case. Like in my mind, I knew that was information we were going to have out here, but I forgot that I was going to have to somehow write that down visually so we could keep looking at it. I ended up just writing it down here, but ultimately I don't like putting just text on a raw background, especially a background that's so textured. And I don't even love this corkboard background. I wanted to change it, but I couldn't find a better one in time, so we just ended up keeping it, unfortunately. I think it's a little too bright for what I had in mind, but what are you gonna do? So that's something I would change. I would put a little bit more thought about that and putting their name up there. I also didn't have the name generator ready to go. I thought I was going to use the normal fantasy name generator, but I didn't want the responsibility of choosing where these people were from. So I just used another general name gen. And that's how we got like Jared Hoffman, Hugh Riley, Beth Hill, and I had to roll separately for the first name and the second name. So that's how that worked out. But yeah, so those were the things that I would like to change off of this. Also, I would have loved to have a thicker pen for these X's and the lines going everywhere. I think it reads fine, but I think it would have been a little bit nicer if it were a thicker pen. Um, but yeah, so I'm very happy with the NPC cards, very happy with the evidence cards. I like that we went up with the Polaroid aesthetic. I would have liked to have created like a card or something to hold like with Jared Hoffman, the coworker investigating case, caring towards victim, upset towards case. So it wouldn't have to raw dog it on the background essentially. Um And I would have liked to have a section for the victim. I'm a little sad that I didn't have any room up here, but yeah, one of the things I did is I kept repeating the name of each character that as we were playing this, uh, I made sure to be like Jared Hoffman. I can't believe you do that, Jared Hoffman, and I did the same thing with everyone. So I would remember their names first of all, so I would remember each character's names. B, so you guys would remember each character's name and have some of these evidences and these stories kind of attached to these characters yourselves and not have to rely on reading it on the screen all the time. because again, I was unhappy with the fact that I had to write. I was having it raw dog, raw dogging on the background of a very textured background. Um, so you'll notice I said that I repeated her names a lot. I also repeated Heather's name a lot, and her entire background, the fact that she worked customer service, the fact that she was middle aged, and that she had a normal reputation. I kept repeating those things also because I didn't have them on the screen, and I didn't want to forget them, and I didn't want you guys to carry the burden of having to remember it for me. So through the sheer fact that I kept repeating it, I was hoping to get that stuck in the viewer's head. I also liked how I played it, it was almost episodic in the way that I kept doing recaps, like coming back after a commercial break, recapping like, oh, who did what last time we were on this character, on this suspect. What did we figure out? And what has changed based off of what other people have done. So, continuing on, I liked how I played the game out. I enjoyed that. Like I said, I was very nervous about it. I didn't know how it was gonna go. I didn't have like a game plan in my head of how I was gonna play this out. I wanted it to be mostly organic and not really pre-planned. And it wasn't, you know? Um, and at the end of the day, I'm happy how I did it. I'm happy how organically the story came out, how we recapped it, and it seemed like you guys enjoyed it also. So, it also helped with remembering who each character was and making each character each suspect an individual, right? Everyone, I didn't want any of the 4 suspects to get pigeonholed in any single way. I didn't want us to get like single-minded about anything in particular, because I wanted to keep the story as open as possible in order to get a satisfactory ending. Luckily we got 2009 as our cold case. I know a lot about 2009 because I was in high school in 2009. Those were my formative years, so I do remember a good bit of pop culture that happened in those years. So that's how like the Grey's Anatomy kind of joke popped up. It's how, the I Kiss a Girl by Katy Perry came up. Because those were things that I'm just like, that happened around those times. I don't remember when the plane episode was in Grey's Anatomy, but it had to be around one of those years. I'm okay with the retcon, with the anachronism there. So overall, the way I played, I was happy about. There were moments I tried to get there to not be a lot of dead air. I was terrified there was going to be a lot of dead air as I played this, and I couldn't come up with a story fast enough or anything like that. That's what I was most anxious about, that it wasn't going to be good to watch. One of the things that sticks in my mind to this day, we were playing one of the very first games I did on stream was on my friend Sir Lucian's channel over on YouTube. We were playing Storm King's Thunder, and we had been playing a few sessions at that point. But we were at a point where, if you guys aren't familiar with the module Storm King's Thunder for Dungeons and Dragons, it's kind of very linear at the beginning, in which you start off at like level 3ish, and you get told what the plot line is, like, oh, world's ending, go off and figure it out, and then you get dropped off at one of like 3 or 4 starting cities, and then depending where in what starting city you are, it's gonna depend on what giants are gonna attack you or attack the city and how you find out. So then after dealing with that, then it becomes an open sandbox game in which you can go fucking anywhere. There's no linear path. There's no railroading. They it's like one of those, when you get to the next story plot, you'll get to the next story plot. I don't know. And so during one of these sessions, we were discussing how we were going to attack a party that was a party, like a couple of giants that were up ahead that we had to deal with because they were going to go destroy a town or whatever. And we were talking about it for a little too long, I have to assume. And one of the people there who streamed, none of us, like, we were mostly just friends with Lucian for the most part. So we were just a bunch of friends playing with Lucian. But one of us five, I think it was, actually streamed actively prior to this. Like, they had been streaming for a while. So they had an understanding for how much dead time is too much dead time on the stream, because there's no editing that out, right? So while we're sitting there and we're just like talking very boring logistical things, his character just goes, he Leroy Jenkins in and he just runs in, because that was more interesting than us not doing anything and just talking, right? And I remember we were kind of annoyed at him that he did that, because it was a very dangerous encounter we were going into. But at the end of the day, I still think about it all the time, because when we asked him after the fact, like, why did you do that? He was like, because you guys were spending too much time doing boring things. Like, the viewer is not enjoying listening to you guys do this. This is not interesting to watch or listen to. And so that's always stuck in my mind of what is interesting to listen to, what is interesting to look at. So I wanted to always I always want to keep things dynamic in one way or another. And that was one of the things, So I was terrified I was going to have a lot of dead time in which I couldn't come up with anything. And we had a little bit of dead air when I was trying to figure out why Hugh Riley might not be the murderer, because it was very much looking like he was, but there was still a chance it wasn't him. So I needed to figure out what the shtick was, right? But overall, I enjoyed playing it. I think that I managed to fill the air enough in interesting ways that didn't sound like I was just talking in order to talk, because that also gets a little old. Um, I like the system as a whole. There are some things in the rules that I wish were elaborated on a little bit more, but that's just, I'm assuming, a consequence of not being edited by an outside source. Like I said, this was an indie game. Again, case closed, the Cold Case RPG. If you're interested in checking it out yourself. Oh, that's not what it is. It's game. It was a Link originally, but the hell is that? What is that? What is that? Cider. Interesting. I don't know who. I noticed that yesterday. I don't know what that is. I didn't know like what exclamation point game is. I don't know why I'm saying it. I wonder who. I wonder if that's like Mix It Up doing that. It doesn't matter. Anyways, so I never felt like I was punching above my weight class while I was playing this game. I always felt that I think it's base Twitch changing the game you're listed as. Maybe. Yesterday it was doing the same thing and it just kept showing me that it was just TTR tabletop role playing tabletop games. And I'm in just chatting now, so I'm assuming it's just showing what I'm doing now. But I don't have no idea. It might be Twitch. Also, hi Derek. I hope you're doing well today. So I never felt out of my depth playing, doing the story, which is what I was the most afraid of going into a solo TTRPG, and the thing that I thought I wasn't going to enjoy. I didn't think coming up with a story on my own was going to be entertaining to myself, let alone entertaining to an audience. The audience, though, the viewers seemed very into what we were doing. Coming up with their own thoughts, own theories, which is exactly what I wanted from a system like this. I like when I was watching Trooper, the thing that I enjoyed was people doing their own speculation as to what was happening, or coming up with their own conclusions as to why his character was walking into this. It's a dungeon. His game was a dungeon crawler, so he was creating the dungeon as he went, based off his roles, and then people got to speculate what was in there, who he was fighting, why he was fighting them, and the backstory as to why they were there. And that was a fun thing that I saw about it. So by making this a whodunit, I was excited that that was a possibility for the audience, for it to be engaging enough that people would also speculate and give me ideas as to what and why certain evidence worked the way it did. What else? Yeah, so ultimately I enjoyed the experience so much. I enjoyed it more than I thought I did. Not only that, I enjoyed the other processes of it, right? Because I had to make all of this, and I had to create the cards and stuff like that. But I also had to set up the actual stream side of it. I had to do the outline, the overlay, and I had to control things like the trackers, the time and the investigation trackers. And what I wanted to do, originally what I wanted to do, and I couldn't figure it out myself. I believe the way to do it is I have to learn how to do essentially logic or coding, to get it done using something like StreamerBot. But ultimately what I wanted to do is I wanted to get the trackers so I could press a button on my macro pad essentially, and it would either move depending, I use a number pad, so imagine the number is on a number pad, that if I were to push 9, the number 9, it would move up my green token up by 1. But if I were to press 8, it would go down by 1. And the same thing with the blue token. I would press I don't know, 6, and it would go up, and then I would press 5 and it would go down. That's originally what I wanted to do. That was my thought. That was the vibe that I was going to go for. Did not end up doing that because I couldn't figure it out. And it was one of the last things I was going to try and get prepped before the game, because it's not that important. I can do what I literally just did and just, turn. What I ended up doing is I got the, actually, it's just easier for me to show you. Let me just make it so Twitch doesn't get hidden when I'm streaming. What I ended up doing is I just moved the token on each of the points, so I didn't have to physically move it myself. And then I just turned off all of them except the one the token's on. So there it's on 8, Then, I succeed, it goes up one. I fail, I go down one. And I did the same thing with the blue token. I have one on each of them, and then I just turn them off until there's only one to go. Success or failure, up and down. That's what I ended up doing. That was fine. It's not a big deal. It just would have been nice if, that was one of the, that was the shtick. And then I had to come up with the overlay itself, and God, the overlay was its own nightmare to figure out. I never know what to make the background of my overlay. That is the hardest part for me. And it always has been, it probably always will be. If I go down to my layers, this is the original layer. It's just a base gray, so I can have an idea of, what everything is going to look like on it. But like I had that texture, that texture, that texture, that texture, that texture. Not to mention all the different iterations and colors I changed these to. And like zooming in, zooming out. I tried all of that. And then I did just like a basic black because I was just like, I don't know what to do. And ultimately, I went on the journey around my every hard drive in solid state that I own in hopes of finding this picture. This is my favorite hardwood table texture. I love this color of wood. In fact, the table I'm on right now is this color. But this is already just such a good picture of it. So I used it for everything back in the day, and I ended up using it for this. And for that, I'm very grateful I went through the effort to find it because I really like it. I love the overlay. I didn't know, again, what I wanted it to be. I thought I wanted it to be a little bit more film noir. I thought I wanted it to be a one-trick pony kind of overlay, but I like this idea that we have a game night overlay now, and that the only thing that's going to change is the game, right? Because I had other iterations. Like I said, I have the white stripe that was going to be on it, and I changed my mind. There's like the outline that I went through a lot of colors on this outline, but we ended up with this like rosy white. I had different ideas of where the Roll20 was going to go. I moved around the corkboard a lot, which is the Roll20. The inside got changed. That's me. You can't see it. Oh, you can see it. That's me. Trying to figure out where I was going to be. Originally, I started off on the other side, but I thought being on the left side was going to be better for me. I toyed around with having some sort of outline on it. I ended up not doing it. Oh, trying to figure out how I was going to do the background. Then like writing out, game night, cold case. Originally I was going to have game night Ko-Fi rolls down below where the trackers are. Then I toyed with the idea of having them up top. Eventually I just didn't put them anywhere. Originally it was going to say time with words and investigation on the filigree on the trackers. And then I didn't do it. And then I did the filigree and I was like, yes, I'm done with the overlay. And then I was like, fuck, I didn't label them. So I ended up drawing a vintage looking clock and a vintage looking magnifying glass, which I then used. Then I just copy and paste it over for the announcement picture also. So I went through a lot of iterations of a lot of things. Like it's a lot. I went through a lot of layers. Some of these layers have literally nothing on it. Oh yeah, I toyed with the idea of having game night on an angle instead of being straight on like it is now. But the font I chose ended up choosing just seemed more fun. I might I'll probably go back through it and I'll try to make it a little bit more distinct. Um because it does kind of run in and make it hard to read in some places. So that is something I will consider. But yeah, all that's gonna really happen is, I I'm just gonna take off Case Closed, a Cold Case RPG by Wim Lawson, and replace that part with a different game, and then call it there. You know, and this filigree, this investigation, so the circles are separate, so I can just use this again. I could use these track or this filigree again, and add and remove if I need trackers, I can just remove it. And because the magnifying glass and the clock are separate, I could simply draw whatever the fuck I want there. My world is my own oyster because since I did all the art, um, it's all thematically something I can change. I don't have to worry about it because it's my own style. So there's no worry about having to go find the clip art or anything. It's it's very much a relief to say the least. But yeah, it's its own thing. And honestly, the overlay came together a lot faster than I thought it would. I was really humming and hawing about it for a long while, but eventually um once I got the background figured out, it all kind of just came together. That I decided, it's gonna be game night. That's just gonna be the name of like the day of the show. Whenever I do the TTRPGs, game night. Cold Case RPG. The only thing is that when I do games with my friends, I'm gonna have to figure out where to put our webcams. So that's when this is gonna change. Um, but I think the concept is there, and that's honestly the hardest part. Um, and I know the font of everything. I can change the size of everything. Like it's not even going to be that big of a deal. It's just the figuring it out part that's so hard and time consuming, if not difficult. Like that's probably the hardest part is that it's just so time consuming. The same thing of like the NPC cards. Are they the best? No. But that's cuz I like I have to learn how to do it. Like, luckily, they look vaguely human, vaguely proportional, and all distinct in their own way. And the same thing with the evidence. It's there, it gets the point across, and we had a concept. Now, the next RPG that we're gonna do, like I said, I think it's gonna be Wretched Wasteland. And that's the story. I need to read through it because I don't actually know how it plays out and what I'm going to need for it. But it is going to be but the concept is that you are a scout in a post-apocalyptic world, and you just found out that there's a huge raider base camp, and you need to go warn your people, your village, the people you're hanging with, and you have been spotted. They know that you were looking at them, and now they're chasing you. And now you have to run away through this like awful wasteland full of a ton of awful things that are trying to kill you, with the goal of getting to your people. So it's going to be a little bit more gameplay based from the description. Again, I haven't read through it. I'm thinking it's gonna be sometime next month. I mean, obviously, because this is we only have a couple of days left in this month. But I'm thinking maybe like I'm thinking of keeping it on Wednesday, but maybe doing it on like the 17th or the 24th. Probably the 24th. The 18th might be a little too, or the 17th might be a little too stressful for me. But like doing it on the 24th of April, it gives me about a month to prepare and choose an actual RPG, because it might not be Wretched Wasteland that I choose. It's just the one that I have on the top of my mind. at the moment. But like I said, there are so many solo RPGs out there, and you guys have given me so many wonderful recommendations. Let me pull up my Discord and make sure nothing of import is anywhere. But over on the Discord, you guys have suggested some amazing things. Let me boop that. If you guys aren't in the Discord, feel free to join. I'm always taking recommendations for TTRPGs. I just can't promise that I will play them. But I'm looking for solo TTRPGs and GM-less 2 to 3 player TTRPGs. That I can, just invite my friends over and we can play. And 2-person TTRPG or a 3-person TTRPG is like really low stakes, especially for a one shot. It'll just be us messing around. But I get all the I've been suggested a bunch of Kiana Shaw stuff. I've been suggested Spoken Magic by Dylan. There's also Vibrant Sea, Solo Journaling by Cage, their own game. And we have Sanctuary and Sentinel, Alice is Missing, Bucket of Bolts. I want you to know that this art style and these colors I am so partial to. It's why Wretched Wasteland caught my eye, because they have such cool art. There's also Orbital by Jack. Vulpes suggested a couple of tumblers that also talk about TTRPGs of the day. And Trooper himself has recommended so many to me. So it's all stuff that I'm very excited to look through. And I have a bunch of TTRPGs that I've pulled from itch that caught my eye, that I have not gone through and vetted at all. I've just simply found them and was like, these sound cool. And have only thought about it that way, right? Like, I have some of these games are games that I had myself already, that aren't solo TTRPGs, but like in the solo TTRPG world, I've pulled some of them that I thought were interesting, like 24XX and you know, there's Home. Oh gosh. Not medium, let's do large. Taken by the Shadow. Like a lot of just games that I pulled and I was like, these sound interesting. The Wretched, Starforge. Starforge is definitely one that I'm interested in playing. That's too big of a game for me right now, though. I need to work my way up to get the Starforged. And there's Rune. Like I said, I've been suggested a ton of games as I've talked about this over the past couple of weeks. So it's I'm looking forward to finding my next solo TTRPG. Like I said, I think it's going to be Wretched Wasteland because I'm interested in it, but I don't know. I could be convinced to do something else. There's so many games out there, and once I get like a little bit more comfortable with setting this stuff up and creating like the outline for the rules and having the tables created on the side, like once all of that I get comfortable with that, I should be able to do these more often. Ideally maybe I'd want to do them like maybe 2 times a month or something like that, like it'd be our Wednesday thing, by monthly, but no promises. Like everything on this channel, no promises on any scheduling. It is simply what I kind of want to do. It's kind of my My vibe. Oh, I just thought of the perfect NPC in the NPC deck. I never picked out what the victim looked like, but I know exactly who it would be. I was just looking at Hugh Riley. I know exactly who his sister is. His sister is, where is she? It's her. This is Hugh Riley's sister. This is Heather Riley. This is Heather Riley. This is Heather Riley if I've ever seen her. I never picked out who it was gonna be, but this is her 100%. Um, oh, 100%. That's Hugh Riley. This is Heather Riley. This is Miss I'm gonna steal your girl, Heather Riley. Yeah. It checks out. And obviously she's gonna look younger because this is, 15 years later. Hugh Riley's looking raw. Anyways, yeah, I look forward to figuring more stuff out. For the tracker thing, I think I'm just gonna ask around some of my friends and be like, hey, do you have an idea of how I could do this tracker thing where I make the thing go up or go down? Because I don't want it to be like I press it's assigned to like 12 different buttons, right? Like for this game it would have been 12 buttons, 5 here, 7 here. And I would have, pressing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or like the entire top row of letters from QWERTY. If I were to like add an actual second keyboard as my macro pad, like that's not ideally what I would want. Ideally, what I want is just press a button and it goes up, and press a button and it goes down. But yeah, that's a little above my pay grade at the moment. I'm gonna have to do a lot of Googling to figure that out. And honestly, I think it's just a coding thing. It's either with StreamerBot, it's either gonna be like a C++ thing, or let's see where it is. Yeah. It's like you get sub actions on this, and in core, for the most part, like there's a C sharp stuff, but there's also logic somewhere around here. There it is, where you could put like if else's, but that's just like, again, there's arguments. It's just above my pay grade. I don't know enough about that. I'd have to do a lot of reading, and maybe watching some YouTube videos to figure out what everything means at the end of the day, and then figuring out how to make them do what I want. But yeah, but that's such a small thing. It would just be a quality of life thing. But yeah, so that's what I'm thinking my next solo TTRPG is going to be. But like I said, I would like to do more of them. And there's so many systems out there and so many games that I look forward to playing them all. Playing all the ones that I'm interested in. Like I said, I'm interested in story-driven games, things that are one-shottable for the most part. I'm not opposed to doing more than one sitting in the game, but I'm definitely more interested in one-shots of things. Especially for the GM-less 2 to 3 player ones, or small group games, because again, I just want to like be like, hey, so and so, you want to jump on and like in like 2 weeks and play this GM-less game with me? It would be like on a Wednesday at 6 p.m. and they could be like, yeah, sure, let's do it, and then we jump on and we do it. Or even like a shorter time frame, right? Like, and then we play it for those 3-4 hours. Boom, we're done. We had a good game. But yeah, so that is, I think, it for me today. I can't think of anything else I want to talk about. I know it's a shorter stream. I mean, almost 2 hours. But I really just wanted to do a recap of how the game went. I think it went well. I'm glad that all the ideas that I spent a lot of time with executed well. I enjoyed a lot of the I enjoyed every part of the process, I think, and that was very important. Like, I enjoyed making all the NPC cards. I enjoyed learning how to do some more fun things on OBS. How, learning more OBS tricks, like you know, putting the fade in and fade out on the transition to show and hide certain sources on my scenes. That's something I learned literally the day of as I was figuring this out. And like the PowerPoint slid in and out, but obviously I don't have the PowerPoint open right now. And yeah, so thank you guys so much for hanging out and watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream and or learned something new. Um, I don't think I'm going to stream tomorrow. I'm not sure. I don't promise anything one way or another. I'm just very sleepy. I was kind of really stressed out about this game yesterday, and it was definitely affecting my sleep a little bit. And I pulled the all-nighter to get everything finished and done so the game would run smoothly yesterday. So I think I'm just gonna like take tomorrow off and chill, and Saturday also, and then on Sunday, I think we also have off. It's yeah, because Sunday is Easter Sunday, right? So yeah, thank you guys so much for hanging out and watching. I really appreciate it. You guys have a wonderful rest of your evenings. Um, I know I probably will. There's some new Helldiver stuff that came out, and I haven't played in a while. And then there was the Stardew Valley stuff that came out that I also have not messed around or played with really because I was focused on getting stuff done for this game. Um, but yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Um, Next stream is probably on Monday, and I don't know what we'll do, honestly. Um, we should probably get Mass Effect done, but like I'm not in a super Mass Effect mood, like playing the game. Mostly because like we're about to finish Mass Effect 2. And I really should finish it, but I just haven't yet. But we'll see. We'll see what we get done. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to be nice to each other. Don't forget to be compassionate. And I'll see you guys all in the next one. Bye. And as always, thank you guys so much for subscribing and just watching, even if you're not subbed. Every little bit, adds up. And it's just nice to know that I'm going to have a little bit of extra income to, like, do things with, like buy cards, a Jenga table, and another webcam for some more options for our solo TTRPG play in the future. And also, just upgrading the system. I wouldn't have been able to get this drawing tablet / third monitor without you guys. It was paid for all for through you guys supporting it over on the Ko-Fi, and also from the Twitch payout that between the two, that's how we paid for it. So which is why I was able to do all the cool NPC cards and stuff like that. It was all done off this tablet. Without it, wouldn't have gotten done. So I appreciate you guys so much for all the support, even just watching the ads themselves. I know they're obnoxious. I know they're annoying, but it adds up in the end of the month. I get approximately 1 to 2 the amount of money that 1 or 2 subs would be just through that. And for my turbo users, same. It all adds up. So I really appreciate you guys. You guys are the best. Right now I have a goal set for a USB interface over on Ko-Fi if you're interested, or if you just don't want to really support Twitch but you would still like to support me. Ko-Fi is there for you to do a monthly sub on, basically. And I'm still trying to figure out what I could possibly offer you guys as recompense, because I feel weird being given money and then not giving you anything back. So if you guys have any ideas on that, please let me know. Otherwise, thank you guys so much. I hope you guys